Do Get Smarter Saturdays, which, by the way, has 3 rules. The video cannot be too long. Number 2, the video cannot be too boring. Number 3, at the end of the video, we have to have learned something. Learned something new. Is there a dark mode? Yeah, there we go. Fuck yeah. This website rules. But I think I have 2 videos that I already picked for Get Smarter Saturdays. And I'd like to watch them with you. The first one is from How Money Works, and it's called Online Piracy's Great Comeback. I like How Money Works because they left a comment on one of my videos. Actually, they put me in a video. And then when I reacted to that video, they said this. They said, Big A reacts to a video featuring Big A. This is what we call the circular economy. That was funny. Anyway, they dropped a new video about the returning rise of online piracy. That sounds interesting to me, so I want to watch it. And since it seems like when you guys talk, 99% of you are frequent pirates. It seems like maybe this will be relevant to you. This seems up your alley. Not me, smiley face.
Piracy. BitTorrent accounted for 1/3 of all internet traffic. The 2010s were the golden age of piracy.
True.
BitTorrent accounted for 1/3 of all internet traffic. LimeWire had more monthly users than Facebook, and the Pirate Bay was the only video store in town.
Fucking loved the Pirate Bay in college. It got textbooks on it. I got every movie that I couldn't afford on it. I got music on it. It's still going. Yeah, but it's just a pain in the ass now. I do pirate. I pirate because Ari set it up on our TV. I don't have Netflix or anything anymore. But I don't, on my own personal, if I want a game or I want music, I don't pirate. I just pay. I pay for Spotify. I pay for Steam games. Piracy is not convenient enough. Plus, every day I think, like, how am I helping a CEO's bottom line? And if I don't do enough, I feel shame, you know? I feel like so sometimes if I do pirate a show, I'll just mail a check to, like, Universal Studios CEO or something, just so he feels better.
Where you were sure to find what you were looking for.
Actually, I'll tell you what I fucking pirate. Wait, I'm actually going to crash out. I pirate the NBA because the fucking dickheads of the NBA haven't figured out the basic truth that you have to make it at least somewhat easy to watch your product. I'll pay. I'll even fucking pay. But you make it so dog shit difficult and confusing and have so many loopholes and rules that I have to go to fucking Stream East because I can just click and watch it. So annoying. Figure it out. My God.
Hypothetically, of course. The world was slowly switching from physical to digital media, and even people who weren't particularly tech-savvy realized that digital goods could be replaced endlessly with practically zero marginal cost. At its peak, 95% of all music downloads were pirated because it had become cheaper and, above all else, an easier way to fill up large digital libraries that were being made possible by cheap digital storage. But then, it just...
Bro, getting your first iPod and filling that shit up with pirated music, you'll never understand. You never understand how it felt like I was a god. I felt like I cracked the system. I felt like I had just beat the whole fucking Matrix. No one could stop me. Man, that was a rush. Instead of having to ask your parents for money to buy a CD and getting songs that you didn't even like, you could get all the songs you wanted on an iPod Go Anywhere and download them for free. It was insane. The only problem was, I remember, this is super unk-coded, but people would just label everything wrong. You'd be on a torrent website or you'd be on LimeWire and you'd be like, I want to download the new Eminem album. And it would be, it would be Britney Spears or something. It would just be something different. They would just always, and then I'd listen to Britney Spears. That shit was System of a Down, Legend of Zelda theme. Yeah, exactly. Or Bill Clinton. Yeah.
Stopped.
It was
Since 2012, the internet has gotten faster, storage has gotten cheaper, and people have become more comfortable.
Oh, and then the one more thing, if you remember, I'm just super reminiscing, but every illegal torrent or file would name it wrong. They would spell the band name wrong, or they would spell the song name wrong. And you'd have it all in your thing, and you'd have to go through, if you cared, you'd have to go through and like rename and yeah, it'd be like Lunkin Perk. And so if you wanted to find it, like, and you download different albums at different times. So like on your iPod, you'd be like scrolling to find Linkin Park. But if I wanted to listen to Numb, well, that's under Linkin Park. Like I'd have 4 different Linkin Parks in my fucking iPod because they were named different from different torrents that I downloaded. It was still worth it, but it would be good.
But with computers, which should have just accelerated a growth trend, but it didn't. Since 2015, peer-to-peer file sharing has collapsed in popularity, and you might think you already know why. Streaming services like Spotify and Netflix were just a better, easier, and safer way to access content. And now, as these services have become markedly worse and simultaneously more expensive, piracy is making a comeback. It seems pretty simple, right? The only problem is that's not the whole story. Realistically, these companies knew this day would come. It was just really important that they could pretend it wouldn't.
For a lot of people, they've decided it's time to cut back.
But legitimately, it might be time to cancel some subscriptions, and I'm probably gonna have to cancel some.
Some of them I'm not using, and it's just wasting money.
There's so many of these, it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, I mean, it was never gonna last. The 2020 era, the early 2021, 2022, was the streaming wars, right? Every big tech company was trying to win the streaming wars. So they were offering a ton of shit at low prices. And they were burning hundreds of millions on brand new shows that didn't make their money back. Like they were doing all this prestige TV. They were throwing money at everybody. They just wanted to win the war. And so as a consumer, you got a good deal. You got a ton of stuff for a low price. And then they realized, wait a minute, we're a business. This makes no sense. We're all just lighting money on fire so that millennials can watch more TV. So they all started cutting back. And now everyone's going back to piracy because they realized that like there is no free lunch on this.
At that point, that's an adversarial relationship. I don't want to pay people to enter adversarial relationships.
We aim, as I said, for this business to be a growth business for the company with margins that our shareholders will feel good about.
So what really made piracy go away and what's really bringing it back might sound simple, but there's actually a bit more going on. First and foremost, the majority of people actually would like to acquire their media legally as long as it was easy and not ridiculously expensive.
True.
Most reasonable people understand that it costs time and money to produce a song, film a movie, or develop a video game. And the people involved in these projects do need to be compensated or else they are just not going to make them. Even people who frequent the high seas, so to speak, know this better than anybody else. A survey coming out of Australia at the peak of online piracy found that people who pirated content were actually more likely to pay for it if it was available. And a finding that really ages—
Okay, I'll say this is one area where I would not trust the survey. People will say whatever the fuck they want. You know what I'm saying? Like I would need to see hard data on that. It could be true, but people lie about shit like that all the time. And like, I'm sure it makes a pirate feel good to be like, yeah, I would pay for it if I just knew it was going to the right, you know what I'm saying? I've been involved in some market research in my day. People lie all the fucking time. Their actions do not match their words. So you got to be careful.
Pirated content were actually more likely to pay for it if it was available. In a finding that really ages the study, online pirates were far more likely to pay for movies and music through iTunes or Quick Fix. This was because people who pirated content were just more likely to consume content overall, and most of them would only make the trip to the Bay if they couldn't find what they were looking for more legitimately. So there were two things that changed after 2013. Sure, there were a few high-profile crackdowns on some of these sites, but even the regulators themselves knew they were just playing a game of whack-a-mole. One of the most downloaded files on the Pirate Bay was the Pirate Bay, a complete copy of this site with all of the addresses that could be set up by basically anybody with some basic server hardware in the event that the authorities took down the original site. But then came along the streaming sites that, thanks to faster internet speeds, could let users watch content on demand without granting them direct access to digital files which could then be copied and shared illegally. The big thing was that these options were just so easy compared to piracy, and so cheap compared to buying songs or movies one by one that it just didn't really make sense to bother with anything else. Nowadays, that's clearly changed. There are dozens of streaming—
I mean, people remember early Netflix before the rest of Hollywood figured out they were getting ripped off. Netflix had fucking everything and it cost nothing. Netflix had every show and was dog shit cheap. It is because no one understood. Like Hollywood didn't fully get it. It was all on one platform and you could get DVD sent to you too if you wanted that. True. I was talking about a little bit less than that early Netflix, but yes.
services that are each getting more and more expensive every year, the movies and shows that you watch are being split up over different providers, the services themselves are getting worse by introducing ads and pushing less relevant content, and on top of all of that, it's just not that easy anymore. Even individual TV shows have certain seasons split up over different streaming services, and the first step in sitting down to watch a movie these days is to Google what streaming service has the 1984 release of Gremlins, and if you're unlucky, what streaming service plus what VPN combo will get you the movie you want to watch.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
If you're already going through all that effort, it gets really tempting to just replace streaming services with your port of choice, because in most cases, it will just be easier. So yeah, streaming services were cheap and easy, which
Yeah, it's easier and sometimes higher quality, and sometimes they'll like do the work of, I don't know, getting the subs for you, or you know, I don't know. It like piracy often can be a better product, which is crazy.
killed the need for piracy. But then they slowly became expensive and
Disney Plus is locked 720p. I mean, that shit's insane. Plus just having to stream it. Like for some people, if you don't have great internet, pirating is actually better because you get the full downloaded high quality movie. You have to wait a little longer, but you get it and then you can watch it high quality instead of having to stream it and then it's like choppy sloppy.
terrible, which brought it back. Pretty straightforward, right? Wrong. It's easy to write this whole thing off as just dumb companies being needlessly greedy to their own peril. And while that's definitely part of the problem, there is a lot more to it than that. Music streaming by comparison is decent. There are multiple services, but almost all of them have almost all of the music that you would possibly be looking for.
Yeah.
As a result, nobody really bothers to pirate songs anymore, which is particularly impressive when you remember that just 15
And if you still pirate songs, I certainly do not. Spotify has got me covered. I do not pirate songs. And that was it was the main thing I used to pirate. But it just feels like a waste of time. I feel like even if you're a fuck Spotify, I'm not going to pay for it person, you probably just watch the song you want on YouTube and have a small music taste. Or you make a YouTube playlist. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like I can't imagine people are straight up pirating. I'm a YouTube playlist person? Yeah. The problem with YouTube playlists, though, is you get ads, right? So, like, you're in the middle of your song and it just fucking... I guess that's just what free version of Pandora was and everything, but that shit's too annoying. Ad block? Everyone seems to think... maybe you guys, it works for you. Ad blocks for me on YouTube always seem to work for a short period of time, and then YouTube gets around it. Maybe I'm crazy. Is that Firefox shit? Okay. What about on your phone, though, and stuff? Like
years ago, 95% of music was
I don't listen to music... Well, I listen to Spotify on both, but if I listen to music on my phone, I feel like it plays the ad. Revanced? What's revanced? Revanced? This is like what is this? It's like a YouTube... Dude, I'm reading a guide to installing Revanced, and it says, I have attention span issues. Here's how to install Revanced for people like me. This is like just Zoomer piracy shit.
being downloaded illegally. Artists have not been thrilled about the lower revenue they have got from streaming versus physical album sales, but most of them still go along with it because even a small share of something is better than most of their music being accessed for free. This raises a potentially unpopular idea, that it might not be streaming that's broken, it might be the movie industry that's broken. The golden age of streaming was never going to last because it was never meant to last. So it's time to learn how money works to find out why piracy is really making a comeback. This video was made possible by iScanner. I was sorting through some old receipts for tax season, trying to remember which ones I still needed to file. And of course, one of the important ones had coffee stains all over it. The text was barely
Coffee? I'm in. Consider me sold. I'm buying iScanner right now.
and make your paperwork just a little less painful. Netflix is the most dominant movie and TV streaming service in the world. It has over 300 million paying subscribers, and unlike a lot of its competitors, it's actually profitable. But from its very first days of online streaming, they knew they would eventually lose people back to piracy. They just really didn't care. And to see why, I'm sorry, but you are going to have to look at some financials. Last year, it made $8.7 billion in net income after taxes, which is extremely impressive. But it still makes it hard to justify the valuation of more than $500 billion. At that rate, shareholders would need 57 years for their investment to pay off, which is not a reason.
We don't care about valuations, Unc. It's 2025. I own Netflix and Tesla and Palantir. I just like the stock when it goes up. I don't care about valuations. I don't care about the math if I can get my money back. I just want to buy green line up. It only goes up. The vibes are good and you're harshing the fucking vibe. Companies don't make money anymore. That's a fucking old idea. Okay, they're doing something better than that. They make the stock go up. They don't need to be profitable because I'll always find somebody else willing to pay me more for this stock. It doesn't matter if the company's going to make profits that go back to me as the owner. All I know is I can sell it to someone else who will buy it for more, always and forever.
Bet for a company in an industry that has only been dominant for a decade. 57 years ago, watching a movie looked like this. And in another 57 years from now, it's highly unlikely that we will still be watching movies through the current selection of streaming services. Now, most investors in this company aren't dumb. They know that Netflix can't make their money back with its current
I prefer the Isaac Newton trading strategy. Isn't the Isaac Newton trading strategy to buy a stock, make some money, sell it, feel good about yourself, then it keeps going up, you get FOMO, buy in with your entire net worth, it crashes, you're broke forever. That's a fucking dope strat. That's my goat, Isaac Newton.
Selection of streaming services. Now, most investors in this company aren't dumb. They know that Netflix can't make their money back with its current structure. What they are banking on is being able to offer a cheaper service that they can charge more for in order to fatten up those margins.
Let's not talk about my margins, by the way. Being nice and fat, that's a nice shirt. Do they make it from End?
Anyway, cutting content, raising prices,
Great
and
scene.
pushing strange features like mobile games within the app are not some surprise new rollout. They are part of a development plan that the company knew it would have to implement since it started offering online streaming. It would just be a lot better if they could do it without competition. Now, on the expenses side, there is some good news. As technology improves, network infrastructure has become cheaper for the same capacity, which means the actual cost to stream videos to users is getting better every year. Netflix's cost of revenue adjusted for inflation has actually been stable since 2022, despite adding almost 100 million new users in that time.
Cool.
Included in those costs are the aforementioned servers and network infrastructure, but it also includes the cost to license and produce their own movies, TV shows, and games. Another big reason their costs have been improving is because they just aren't licensing as much content as they used to, and that's for two reasons. The first was a business decision to cut down on a cost, especially for content that wasn't drawing in new users. The second reason is simply because they
Netflix has gotten way, almost ruthlessly data dependent on canceling shows, cutting shows, and letting shows go. If people aren't watching it, or they're the type of watchers that only come in, watch one thing, and leave, they just let the show go, or they cancel it after one season, or they're very algorithm pilled. Now, I think there's an argument to be made that long term that reduces people's trust and brand value of the name. You know, if every time they make a show you like, they cancel it instantly. But it has worked for them. They're the only streaming service that's profitable. They're the only one. So they're doing something right. But their data shows that after 2 seasons, a show does not bring in new users. So House Season 1, okay, people are watching. House Season 2, people are watching. House Season 3, it's only House fans now. There's nobody new is checking it out in Season 3. So they usually just cancel it. They have almost no shows make it past 2 seasons, which is, what about Game of Thrones? Again, a smash mega hit like Stranger Things or Game of Thrones, they have let that go. Game of Thrones is not them, but Stranger Things. But, for the average show, first 2 seasons is all that matters. They've been canceling it. Meanwhile, Smallville with fucking 10, true. There's definitely examples of long-running shows that have been great successes. I think Netflix is trying to play the odds and thinking it just won't work out, so just cut it. That might backfire on them, but it's working for now.
can't get their hands on as many titles.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Also worth mentioning, someone made a great point. A huge part of that is the longer a show goes, the more they have to pay residuals. I think there's a specific thing about it might be 3+ seasons. I know there's something after 10, but 100 eps. It's 100 exactly. It's 100 eps. That's okay. Perfect. I knew that. Yeah. Okay. 100 eps. After a certain number of episodes, they have to pay a higher percentage of residuals to the writers, actors, directors, everyone. And so they just cut it off first. They cut it off early.
Titles anymore, because independent studios have made their own streaming services and want to keep their biggest IPs exclusive, so they can force users to either switch to their platform or shell out for 2 or more streaming services. Netflix is slowly producing its own titles, but that hasn't caught up to the content they are losing from licensing. So then why does this mean that Netflix doesn't care about piracy? Well, publicly they say they do, of course, but piracy is going to hurt their competition a lot more than it's going to hurt them. If people can't find a movie or show on Netflix and then give up and pirate it, that didn't really cost Netflix any money, because the vast majority of content out there wasn't theirs to lose, and they most likely didn't spend the money producing it. A 2023 paper in the Journal of Economic Behavior and Organization titled Pirate and Chill found that when movies moved off Netflix to another platform, piracy of that content increased by more than 20%. Now, first and foremost,
I mean, we said this a long time ago when we were doing Marketing Mondays about the streaming wars. But if you look at consumer behavior, generally, and it could be different now, but at the time this is what it was. People treated Netflix like a tax, like a bill. Like I have to pay the water, the heating, and the Netflix. It was like universal. You just have to do it. And they treated everything else like luxury. So like for HBO, they would buy HBO, but only to watch the show they wanted, then they would cancel it. They would binge one show on, what he's saying here really ties into that, where it's like, I think many people have one streaming service, it's Netflix, and if it's not on that, they pirate it.
an amazing name for a professional journal article. But apart from that, it showed why Netflix hasn't been too concerned with online piracy. In a now infamous quote from the company's chief content officer, they said that in order for Netflix to be successful, we need to become movie studios faster than movie studios can become us. Piracy that disproportionately hurt legacy movie studios and their libraries of content was not something that Netflix would encourage. But behind closed doors, they certainly weren't too sad it was happening. Another way to think about this is that obviously Amazon isn't encouraging shoplifting, but it's a problem that hurts their competition far more than it hurts them. Piracy has also been a handy little tool throughout the company's history.
You're saying Jeff Bezos is the guy looting. He puts on a ski mask and starts looting in order to make retail stores seem unsafe so that we'll all buy on Amazon. That's fucked up, Jeff. That is fucked up to have that much money and still do that. How else do you afford that wedding? He's a reverse Batman. Jeff Bezos is the billionaire who makes the city worse so he can make more money. That's hype. He's Namtab.
Back in 2013, it admitted to using data from online piracy sites to find out what was popular and therefore what was worth licensing. Okay, so Netflix doesn't care about the rise of piracy. But what about the actual Hollywood studios?
Hollyweird, I call it.
They obviously do, and they crack down on IP theft with furious anger. But they are in a difficult situation. They could send piracy back to the dark ages by reconcentrating their content onto a single easy platform. But at the moment, that would probably be Netflix, which a company like Disney would obviously not be willing to go along with after investing so much in their own service.
Right.
If they keep competing though, they are just going to make the experience worse for everybody and probably lose more ground to the high seas. Now, for these companies, this whole fight could not be happening at a worse time. There is a reason why music studios were able to play nice and make their content available just about anywhere while movie studios were fighting to the death. Music is simply much cheaper to produce, and there are far more sources of alternative revenue beyond just directly selling a song or an album. Artists don't make as much from streaming as they would from a physical album sale, but they can make it up in tours, merchandising, and other licensing deals.
Right.
On the flip side, movies have largely been getting more expensive to produce, while cinema attendance has never fully recovered from its dip during COVID. Ironically, one of the biggest theater releases of the past 5 years was actually for a music studio with the cinema release of Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. In the past, poor box offices wouldn't matter as much, because mid-budget movies could make a lot of their money back through DVD sales. But obviously, that's not really a thing anymore. So studios have put even more effort into pushing their streaming services to eventually make back the difference. It's a bold strategy, and there are hundreds of billions of dollars in market cap at stake. So executives really want to pretend that eventually it'll work out. But if it doesn't, there are some lessons to—
Dude, that is the statement of so many industries right now. We're losing hundreds of billions of dollars, but it'll eventually work out. What if it fucking doesn't, bro? So much is propped up on like, it'll work out. Well, this'll make sense. We're not crazy. Well, I guess what if it does?
We learned from the music industry, which didn't beat piracy. It just made it unnecessary. The first is that movies have simply become too expensive for the current market.
What if it doesn't? I get paid $300K a year every CEO. Bro, you're talking to some broke CEOs. It's almost sweet that you said that. Like, it makes me think highly of you as a person, that you thought, what's the craziest thing these greedy CEOs could be making? That's awesome. Like I would be your friend off that comment. I think that was really nice of you to say. No, it's way more, bro. It's way fun. Look at fucking what am I thinking? The Warner Bros. Discovery guy. Wow, why am I blanking on his name? I've been blanking on names lately. Zaslav, David Zaslav. Yeah, Zaslav makes like 50 fucking million a year. I think he made more on the year they acquired. Zaslav pay package. 51 million. Yeah, I was right. But I think he made like 200 million that 1 year when they did the acquisition. Anyway, it's just an absurd amount of money. Bobby Kotick walked away with $400 million of the buyout. Yeah, that's right. $400 million.
Studios have recognized that people are only going to the movies for special occasion releases these days because it's expensive, the theater experience isn't that good anymore, and people can just wait a month and watch it for free on one of the streaming services that they were already paying for. Instead of making the whole thing cheaper and putting less of their eggs in a single basket, they have doubled down on producing mega blockbusters. Of the 20 most expensive movies ever made, 19 of them came out in the last 10 years after streaming was already mainstream. These figures also only count the...
Is that adjusted for inflation, though? Because that would just make sense normally if it's not adjusted for inflation, because money is less valuable. I'd have to check that.
Came out in the last 10 years after streaming was already mainstream. These figures also only count the production budget, not the marketing budget. And on the revenue side, the box office doesn't include the share paid out to movie theaters. With even extremely generous estimates of those arrangements, only about half of these releases made their money back. And some in particular, like the Marvel's Snow White, Dial of Destiny, and the latest Mission Impossible movie, are shaping up to be catastrophic losses. So far...
Damn, is the next one, is this a flop? I told you this movie sucked. I love Mission Impossible, but this last movie sucked. I'm kind of sad it's a flop ski, but the one I was talking about recently was Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is gonna come in at a net loss after all that, after all the hype and the good reviews and everything. It's not gonna make its money back, which is like they're gotta have some tough meetings over at Marvel HQ. Dude. The juice is out. There's no juice. F1's trying to make money. Wouldn't surprise me if F1 made money. It's a dad movie. They go to movies.
Studios have been able to justify these flagship productions to their investors by talking about their IP value, which can later be extracted by bringing in customers to their streaming platforms. But that isn't really happening. Customers who join because they want to watch a single movie didn't tend to stay subscribed for very long compared to those who enjoy a deeper library of mid-budget movies or TV shows. I don't know about you, but I tend to take my subscription to whatever streaming service is hosting The Office this month. These huge productions also put more strain on the business as these losses have to be made up somewhere, and that is more often than not increased prices, more ads, and worse overall service. Now, I would forgive you for not feeling too sorry for Hollywood studio executives, but they are really in a no-win situation here. The harder they push back against the changing media landscape, the harder they push people towards the high seas.
Right.
So anyway, now might be a good time to shamelessly plug that these videos are being made available ad-free on Spotify. So if you would prefer to listen in or watch it over there, I have left a link in the...
I mean, yeah, I think if Netflix doesn't want to go along with it, the only thing... Well, the problem is Amazon wouldn't go along with it either, because Amazon doesn't care. And Apple doesn't really care about making money. Like, Apple TV is just a little side project to make Apple more valuable. They don't care if they lose money on it. And Amazon Prime's the same way. But ideally, every company other than Netflix would team up to create one subscription, a Spotify-like thing. And they would just split based on contribution to production. But we're definitely entering into the mergers phase of the streaming war, because they're going to start burning out. They need to consolidate. Like, Paramount Plus cannot last. Isn't that Hulu? Yeah, I mean, Hulu was that in the early days of Netflix, was all the studios trying to make something to compete. But then it ended up just being a Disney thing. Like, Disney owns it. And I think like Paramount and Peacock and Disney, every Hollywood thing has got to go on one service to try and counterbalance Netflix if they really want a chance. HBO, Disney can survive. Disney can survive, of course. But Disney Plus, they spent a fuck ton of money on it, and it's not really... It doesn't have the margin they thought it would. It's still a loser. And like, they've lost all the money they used to make from movies and TV. And their big cinema money is falling off because Marvel's isn't making the money they used to.
The description. And if you think it's just streaming services that have been getting so bad, go and watch this video next to find out why making junk makes so much money.
Hey, good video. Thanks again, How Money Works. I really enjoyed it. That was a good video. I think people will continue to pirate is my takeaway. Until they get a Spotify type system for movies, people are going to continue to pirate.